The father and son in front of them spent 300 yuan to buy 6 big lobsters as bait. The father Karula directly picked up one, hung it on a fishhook, and handed it to his son Karula on the side. Rakuri threw it into the sea without blinking an eye. Each of these lobsters weighs half a caddy. Ordinary people are reluctant to eat at all, but they hooked them one by one. It's hard to imagine what kind of valuable goods to catch with such expensive lobsters as bait. So can you get your money back at such a high cost? After throwing all the foam line sets down, after waiting for an hour, father and son came to collect the fishing line eagerly. Soon the boat reached the first float smoothly. You can see the float shaking violently from a distance. Rakuri leaned down, grabbed the float, and threw it on the boat. Then start recycling the fishing line. It can be seen from his laborious movements when he retracts the line. There must be a fish bite underwater. Can swallow half a caddy of lobster. This fish certainly doesn't think. After a few minutes of walking the fish, a giant leopard print guy was pulled out of the water. He's still struggling. He was directly lifted into the boat by Rakuri. This is a 4 or 5 caddies tiger spot. The price of the tiger spot can be sold for 1,210 caddies. Karilla quickly took the fish off the hook and put it in the live fish warehouse. Because only live fish fetch the highest price, this one will earn the right ear money back. This can't help but make father and son look forward to the harvest that follows. Soon another float in the distance began to shake violently. Karilla saw this and hurried the boat over. I saw Rakuri grab the float. Then he alternately recycled the fishing line with both hands. Looking at the operation, there must be a fish bite again. I don't know what kind of fish it will be. Father and son also cooperate. When tacit understanding Rakuri is responsible for recycling the fishing line, Karilla wraps the fishing line around the foam. 5 minutes later, another big guy gets pulled out of the water. The fish was still struggling, and he got it onto the fishing boat. This is another tiger spot, comparable to the first. You really can't bear to bear the child and can't catch the wolf? I never expected that the good show was still to come. Karilla pulls up the third float, and so the father and son became very skilled at recycling the line. But this time the fishing line is obviously very easy. It seems that it is not everyone who bites the hook underwater. I thought it was a small fish, as a result. What surfaced turned out to be another large stone spot. After it came out of the water, the grouper began to struggle violently. With the help of his father, he dragged the fish onto the fishing boat. I have to say that the resources in the sea area are really good. So far, 3 fishing lines have harvested 3 large stone spots. This is not a sea temple at all. This is clearly picking up money in the sea. This kind of fishing efficiency makes me both enjoyable and envious. Why can't we have access to such a good resource? At the same time, the 4th line group also shook. Karilla hurriedly drove the boat over. This time I dragged on another 4 or 5 caddies of tiger spots. Is this the nest where the grouper was stabbed? If this continues, it will be difficult for father and son not to make a fortune today. This 5th line group did not accidentally drag out a large stone spot. This grouper also weighs about 4 or 5 caddies. Upload with this tiger spot. Trade 6 big lobsters for 5 big stone spots. This is still quite cost-effective than buying and selling. So how much are these 5 stone spots worth? Then they went to the seafood wholesale department to weigh and sold a total of 18,220B, which is equivalent to about 2,200 yuan in our place. There is no doubt that today is a full day for father and son. This is what happens to all fishing at sea. The parrot I didn't want to see was attacked by an underwater shark. When pulled onto the fishing boat, half of the tail had been successfully taken away by the shark. Then he drilled back into the sea and drove away. This also caused fish goods that were originally worth hundreds of dollars to become worthless in an instant. An angry Rakuri slaughtered a chubby fried fish on the spot, then used a knife to cut the fish into small pieces and throw them into the sea to nest. In order to better attract sharks in the water to bite the hook, they fished out another 2 or 3 caddies of big fried fish. Just put an iron needle through the eyes of the fried fish. Turn the fishing line in your hand to hold it firmly. Although the stinging fish is still swinging in pain, they don't care. Soon, there was a violent reaction from the reel wheel. It seems that a fish bit the hook. Karilla quickly asked his companion to remove the fishing rod that was in the way. However, the force analysis from the fishing rod, it wasn't a giant object biting the hook this time. For fear of being frenzied by sharks again, so Karilla hastily locked the police wheel. Lift the rod up and quickly retract the line. After he took up the line in one go, caddies of astragalus tuna was also slowly pulled to the side of the boat, and they hooked him up to the deck. The astragalus tuna that just got on board was quickly decomposed by them. Only the best parts are left. The rest are thrown into the sea to nest. And then they did the same thing, though brutally, by hanging a fried fish on a hook. However, it can make fried fish live longer underwater, because only live bait can attract sharks to bite quickly. Sure enough, the bait just entered the water not long ago. There was the sound of fish biting again underwater, and the reels started appearing like crazy. Kalila estimates that the giant object biting the hook this time can be more than 100 kilograms. He released the fishing line dozens of meters in a row. To prevent sharks from pulling themselves off the boat, he quickly put on his protective gear. But the power of the giant biting the hook is too powerful. Karilla also had to put the rod on the stand, trying to use the lever principle to consume the strength of the big fish. After a while, Kulila realized that this was going to be a long game. After struggling for half an hour, so they engaged in a wheel battle, and Lakuri immediately came to take his place. The safest way to use a wheel warrior in the face of this giant. Eventually, in a concerted effort, the giant was pulled out of the water due to exhaustion. This is a giant shark that is 3 or 4 meters long. Since this shark is not a protected species locally, and they took it home, made a nice meal, and shared it with their friends. Never seen such awesome fishing? Karilla paid a high price for a whole fresh roaming chicken as bait. Cut the chicken into small pieces with a knife. Pick up a piece and hang it on the hook. And what they do is they fish with millennia-old fishing skills, and they fish with kilometers of line and hundreds of hooks. They hung the mussels piece by piece on the hook, until hundreds of hooks are neatly attached to the mussels. And the technical requirements for putting this kind of fishing hook are also quite high. If you don't put it well, you will not only get nothing, even the fishing line is knotted. It took 2 hours to put all the thousands of meters of fishing line down, so at such a high cost, will they get their money back and will they roll over? The next morning, they couldn't wait to come to the sea where the hooks were placed, salvage the level of happiness in the hope of finan, then start pulling the fishing line. As the fishing line is retracted, the first harvest is soon ushered in. This is an earth dragon about a caddy. Although not particularly large, but tulung is valuable, it is said that dragon meat in the sky and earth dragon meat in the ground, it can be seen that the earth dragon is precious. After collecting dozens of empty hooks in succession, and then another one gets pulled out of the water. This earth dragon is probably bigger than the last one. The earth dragon that has just been pulled onto the fishing boat is still in the death roll, trying to break free from the hook, but it's too late. Wild earth dragons can sell for thousands of dollars at a caddy to a caddy and a half. I am afraid that more than 2 caddies will be more expensive. 2 in a row is awesome. It's said that I'm lucky. It's like I can't stop it. At the end of the fishing line, Kurilahi mentioned a wave of triple kills. This kind of harvest is also enjoyable and envious to me. And Kurilla sighed as he sighed that the earth dragon was not particularly big. At the same time, my heart exclaimed that it was really rich. The fish hook is the size of a palm. Fishing line is thicker than chopsticks. The fish is also this giant live fried fish weighing more than 2.5 kilograms. This fish could sell for at least a few $100s if it was put on the market. But it was hooked by the fisherman, Kurilla, and thrown into the sea, without hesitation. As the bait sinks to the bottom of the sea, the powerful smell of blood soon attracted a school of hungry groupers. And Kurilla, in order to experience the joy of fighting giants to the extreme, even give up the fishing rod. He used a strong hemp rope as a fishing line at this time. The grouper schools gathered on the bottom of the sea also began to launch attacks on the bait, one after another, but they were smart enough to avoid the hook. But Kurilla has his own way of doing this. Just pull the fishing line and make the fish ears shake slightly a few times. It can instantly arouse the predatory desire of the grouper. Sure enough, blink, another big fish bit his right ear. The huge power made him unable to hold it at all. The fishing line is taken off. The cousin next to the boats was also very sensible and stood behind him, ready to help Kurilla share some of the pull. Due to the large size of groupers, if brute force is used to pull, there is a high risk of decoupling. So Kurilla needs to loosen the line from time to time to consume the strength of the big fish. Finally, with the efforts of the 3 of them, the fish was successfully pulled out of the sea. This is a Goliath grouper that probably weighs over 100 kilograms. His huge mouth could even swallow a cousin on the boat in one bite. The danger level can be imagined. Kurilla rehooked the 5 blacks that had just been hooked, then throw it into the ice cave. This is for catching some large pike and freshwater snow. After setting up this fishing group, Kurilla continues to set up other fishing groups. He is currently at the confluence of rivers and lakes. The flow of water under the ice causes many fish to gather here. It can also be said to be the best fishing on the nearby ice. In 2 hours, he prepared 7 or 8 fishing groups. Hope to have a good harvest when I come back. A few hours later, Kurilla is back here, unfortunately. Although the first fishing group is stingy and shaking, the cold temperature of minus 20 degrees made the entrance of the cave more than 10 centimeters of ice. If you want to see it, you can only wave an ice pick and chisel it. Kurilla didn't get anything after checking. He puts the bait back in the ice cave. Fortunately, today's good luck still favors Kurilla. There was a fishing fire on this fishing group. This white-spotted pike should have been hooked not long ago. The bait hasn't had time to swallow it yet. Not long, Kurilla has gained again. You can tell by the movement of his retracting that the fish is not too small. After his 2-minute stint walking the fish, a fish was gradually pulled to the mouth of the hole by him, and he grabs the gills and pulls the fish out of the water. The deposit turned out to be a ferocious freshwater bloodfish. After pulling on ice, and Kurilla couldn't wait to get rid of this cod. I saw Kurilla take out a hand knife drop tip. This fish has a big mouth in its belly. With decades of shark amazement, Kurilla has killed countless fish, exceptional knife skills. Don't worry about scratching the contents of the fish's stomach at all. After he cut through the 2 layers of fish skin, and what happened next took him by surprise. A complete 5 black tracks actually slipped out of the belly of the cod. Seconds later, this fish was still bouncing around. This cod never dreamed of having a C-section and having his first son. It seems that Kurilla is making a lot of money on Bototo. This is a paradise for fishing in Shanghai. Not only can you encounter stonefish weighing a few caddies, you can also hit Datsingyi, which weighs 7 or 8 caddies. Even expensive lobsters that can lose 500 grams per jin are everywhere. You can reach out and catch one. Each weighs 1 jin if you're lucky. You can even see the sea for thousands of years. Nurturing in such an environment, it was like walking into a wonderland. There are fairy tale landscapes everywhere. Kurilla is out of luck today. As soon as I went into the sea, I encountered a huge car canal. Chachu is renowned as the king of shellfish. Due to overfishing, it is now listed as a marine protected species in many countries. Can only be viewed from a distance, not praised. Just turned around and found a Dongxing ban sleeping in a crack in the stone. Kurilla directly launched sword history without hesitation. Dongxing ban was instantly strung into the history of swords. Although this Dongxing class is not big, but at least 2 caddies or so, that was Kurilla's first catch of the day. You see, I just finished typing this one and found another one. Kurilla quickly took out the spear gun and aimed it directly at the guy's head. Launch with things, Dongxing ban, who lost his pain, also began to struggle frantically. It's just no matter how hard you struggle, what do the friends in front of the screen think? When they see such a fresh Dongxing class, is it better steamed or braised? Look at this Datsingyi again. He was actually sleeping with his eyes open. I have to say that the fish at night are really stupid. Kurilla's close encounter. He was still lying motionless under the reef. I didn't think about running away until I was pierced by a harpoon. It's just that no matter how hard you struggle, you can't break free from the swordsman's control when you have a beautiful encounter with a large sea turtle. Maybe the sight of sea turtles is also a good sign. Then Kurilla shoots the arrow directly to the bottom of the sea. A ball of cuttlefish rises from the bottom of the sea. Anyone with a discerning eye knows that this is a cuttlefish trick. He kept spewing ink and rolling and trying to break free from the arrow, but no matter how hard he struggled, it was pointless. After slowly losing the ability to resist, a cuttlefish about 3 or 4 caddies was also included in the bag by Kurilla. After 2 minutes, Kurilla found a red monster in the cave. This time he wasn't going to use a harpoon. As the camera zooms in, it becomes clear that it is a stonefish. This fish is also considered to be one of the most venomous in nature and is good at camouflage. Although this fish is very dangerous, however, its tender and delicious meat and less thorns are deeply welcomed by foodies in coastal cities. But Kurilla's favorite is this big lobster with tentacles. As long as you catch one, there will be many nearby one last time. Look at today's harvest. After 2 or 3 hours in the sea, I actually harvested a lot of beautiful fishing fires. Does anyone envy such a sea-catching life?